Ron.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Planning and Zoning meeting for Thursday, March the 2nd, 2017. First order of business tonight will be our public hearings, and our first public hearing will be Section 425, Sign Regulations. Amendment dash 85. Mr. Hemp.
Good evening, everyone. First item I have is a proposed amendment to Section 425 Sign Regulations, ADM-85. I'd ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notice, and my planning and zoning report.
Anybody else got any questions at this time? Hearing none, we'll close that public hearing and open up the next one, which is Section 405.400, Application and Review Fees at Amendment dash 86.
Next item I have is a proposed amendment to Section 405.400, Application and Review Fees, ADM-86. Once again, I'd like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, my plan and zoning report, and the public hearing notice.
Thank you, Mr. Hamp. Anybody else to speak on behalf of that tonight? Hearing none, we'll close that public hearing and open up the next public hearing, which will be Showtime Detail Site Plan 108.
This item is a site plan approval request for Showtime Detail SP-108 to be located at 801 Lois Avenue. Property is Zone C3 Highway Commercial. On February 1st, 2017, a request was filed for site plan approval for the Showtime Detail, a proposed automotive detail business to be located at 801 Lois Avenue. I'd also like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notices, and my planning and zoning report.
Okay. Anyone here to speak tonight for or against that?
Yes.
Step to the podium, state your name.
Hello.
Hi there.
I just have one concern. I own the property that sits to the south of the property that will be this detailing business. And I'd like to know what is the city's stance on allowing, automobiles just to take up the property. I mean, I understand it's going to be a detailing business. The property I own right behind it is rental property. It's essentially in that property's backyard. So I don't want my tenants to have to look at a bunch of automobiles sitting around. So are there any city bylaws that state how many automobiles that type of business can have at their business, not housed, I guess?
I'm not aware. I'll make a statement.
Right.
I'm not aware of any. However, I think this is a conditional use, so that would be something that we could set as a condition.
Okay.
If that's a concern.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the nature of the business. They might have, one or two or whatever. It's a pretty big shop, so they can probably have 2 or 3 vehicles inside the shop at a time. But, I just don't want people not being able to pay for their details and automobiles just piling up that they need to get rid of.
Okay. Good question.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, could you state your name for the record?
I'm sorry.
please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Julie Null.
Julie Null.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Null.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak tonight? Hearing none, we'll close that public hearing and open up the Showtime Detail Conditional Use Permit 49. Teresa was talking about.
This is a conditional use permit approval request for Showtime Detail, CUP-49, to be located at 801 Lewis Avenue. Property is Zone C3 Highway Commercial. On February 1st, 2017, a request was filed for conditional use permit approval for Showtime Detail. Proposed detail business to be located at 801 Lewis Avenue. Per Appendix A, 3 commercial use, I vehicle service, 1 motor vehicle service and repair. A conditional use permit is required. This conditional use permit approval request has been submitted by the applicant along with site plan SP-108 approval request as required per section 405.340 C8. I'd also like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, my planning and zoning report, and the public hearing notices.
Thank you, Mr. Ham. Anyone want to speak on behalf of that conditional use permit? Hearing none, we'll close our public hearings for this evening and open up our regular planning and zoning meeting. First order of business will be the minutes from our last meeting, which was January the 5th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of January 5th as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Costello, second by Mr. Deach to approve the minutes as submitted from January 5th. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Costello?
Yeah, I'll abstain, I was absent.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff is absent. Mrs. Blondin is absent. Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 with 1 abstention and 2 absent. First order of business will be section 425, sign regulations.
This is a proposed amendment to section 425 sign regulations, and it's just one change to table S1 for buildings that are greater than, for the buildings with a building face greater than 7,501 feet. This was something similar to what we did with the pole signs for the bigger box stores, just to make sure that they sort of had equal opportunity as some of the smaller businesses.
Anybody have any questions or discussion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the amendment to section 425 sign regulation ADM 85 as submitted.
I'll second it.
Have a motion by Mr. Costello, second by Mr. Cullum to approve section 425 sign regulations ADM-85 as submitted. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
And Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0 with 2 absent. Next order of business will be section 405-.400, application and review fees, ADM-86.
Yeah, this is the proposed amendment to section 405.400, and basically what this is doing, what we're looking at doing, is trying to be more customer friendly, business friendly, in reducing the amount of the publication deposits. Currently it's $300, and the majority of all the applications that we process, there's always a refund check for the balance. I believe the $200 would more than cover the average submittals that we receive, to try to help the applicants have a little less out-of-pocket money, and then also to would be running since the conditional use permit requires a site plan, also run that in one ad together, where they'd only require the one single deposit instead of 2 like currently. So it's to help out on that. And then for like the administrative site plans or site plan, in-house plan reviews, where there's no actual changes to the site, just more or less verifying parking requirements and things like that, we are reducing the prices for them by 1/3, just trying to attract more business.
And the times when you do a site plan on an existing development with no changes would be, like the one we're doing tonight, would be an example of that, because there's no changes to the building, is that?
Well, not tonight, because it's automotive related. A conditional use is required, so it has to be the full site plan. It would be more of what's the administrative site plan, where I can approve them in-house. It does not have to come before P&Z or the board. Any change of use requires a site plan. So if something was retail and then it's going to like a little bakery or something like that, but they're using the exact same building, the exact same parking, just be because it's a different use, it may have different parking requirements. That's why we still do the administrative site plan.
Okay, so basically it's a reduction in fees for an existing building. Because currently an existing building that's 0 to 3 acres would be charged $450 whether there's a change to the structure or not, correct?
This would be, this would change the price if it's a commercial site plan review for a new development, or if they're enlarging or revising the existing development, it would be $450. If it's a commercial site plan review and they're not doing any site work at all, it would be reduced to $150.
Okay. All right. I like reducing fees.
Hopefully everybody does.
Anybody else have a question or comment?
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment as submitted.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mrs. Scott, second by Mr. Durbin to approve the Section 405.400 application as submitted. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote?
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Burton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Deitch?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0 with 2 absent. And the next order of business will be Showtime Detail Site Plan 108.
This is the site plan approval request for the Showtime Detail to be located at 801 Lewis Avenue, and Mr. McNary's here if you have any specific questions for him.
I do have a question. I read through this and I didn't have the question that was asked in mind, so I don't remember that. What type of outside parking do you think you're going to need to utilize there?
Step to the podium, state your name, sir.
Walter McNary.
Thank you, Mr. McNair.
The building housed 7 vehicles. There will be no vehicles housed outside. If we can't detail a car and it's going to be left overnight, it will be inside. Won't be any loud music. There will be parking 5 vehicles, but we don't leave anything outside because we don't want anything vandalized or scratches or something happens to somebody's car. So everything will be indoors. Be security around the property also. It'll be okay.
So the parking for the 5 cars, is that where the kind of, as you pull into the parking lot right there?
Yeah, it'd be those 3 spaces that sits there, and then it'll be 2 spaces in the back.
Okay.
But it won't be any cars left outside overnight, none whatsoever.
Okay.
Well, I'm not complaining here. You'll probably have some customer comes in after hours, but otherwise,
Yeah,
you're
if,
not going to be sticking.
yeah,
a
we
bunch of
detail a
cars
car or
outside.
something like that. So after business hours, so we say 8 to 6, and we brought that down to 8 to 5:30. So any car that's left over that time, say a customer say it's 7 o'clock and I want to come and get my vehicle, that's the only time that customers can come up and pick up their vehicle. But it will be no business done after 5:30.
Will they have the ability to, like, say, leave keys in a drop box and leave a car parked outside before you get there in the morning? I want to look at a condition, but I want to look at something that's going to work for your business as well. So will they be able to, can I come up there at 7, put my keys in the drop box, leave it overnight, and then you detail it in the morning, or are you not going to have that set up?
They can, and all details is done by appointment only. So everybody, the general public just can't drive up and say, "Hey, I need my car detailed." Everything is done by appointment only. They can't leave their keys, and then once they do that, there will be somebody there to collect the key from them and bring the vehicle in. So everything will be done inside. There will be no loud tools or anything that's going to disturb the public. The highway will be making more noise than what we'll be making. So everything is going to be inside. No loud music, no people hanging around, anything like that.
And the only question I had, I did notice in the photographs, it does look like there are floor drains inside. One concern we'll have when there's a garage type of risk, if there's going to be washing done, things of that nature. Are those drains equipped with the necessary traps so that we're not putting petroleum products and things of that nature into the wastewater?
They are, and we decided not to do the washing inside the shop. We have an account set up at the car wash.
Okay, so you'll be off premises for the washing then?
That's correct.
Okay.
One thing that was required, if some of the residents in the area, I have spoken with them, and they were asking for a stop sign or a child crosswalk sign because kids in there. My concern was I'm not going to have customers speeding back and forward, leaving the shop, but that's one of the things that I wanted to see if we can get put in.
That would actually be a city.
He's already spoke with Guy
Okay.
Devers, Director of Public Works, so Guy's working on it. I don't know if Guy's got back to him yet, but Guy's aware of it.
Okay.
I think there's a procedure before he can install a stop sign he has to go through.
There is a procedure.
We need a motion then to make,
I would, before we make a motion, I'd like to address the outside parking since that was brought up as a concern. So, I mean, is there a number that would be reasonable? 5?
Yeah, because I do know that for right now, it's by appointment, but I know we've had stuff done, and I'm leaving Warrenton in the morning at 5:45, 6 o'clock when businesses aren't open, and I drop off my keys. So it is sitting there for, an hour or two until they open. And that might be a use for right now. That's not in your plans.
Yeah.
But if you end up getting more business and you have people like me who, I'm leaving Warrenton before you're open, I
Yeah.
can see that as
I
a
could-
condition to see how many vehicles would be.
I could say at least a half dozen would probably be acceptable, don't you think?
There's only 5 spots though, so.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
Well, there's a
he's
big-
got way more
He's got
than
a
parking
huge-
for
yeah.
5.
You could park probably 25 on
Yeah.
that. on
And I
that
believe
lot.
there's a fence south of your building, correct, between the resident? Is it a solid wood fence or is it just chain link?
Chain link.
It's chain link on the south?
So we do somewhere around 20 to 30 cars a day. Out of that 20, 30 cars, I'm probably looking at 10 that we can't do. And if that's what it will be, we have 7 cars inside, and we hate to tell customers come and get their car and bring it back the next day. So we house the cars in the storage, and we bring those cars as we detail them. We get some out, we bring those in, and that's just how we've been doing it, and we've been very successful at that. We just don't like leaving cars outside overnight with keys in them or anything like that. It's just not safe.
And I think probably the outside overnight is where the concern is, simply because if they're overnight, then I think your concern was more derelict cars. Am I,
Yes.
that a car is going to be there for 3 months and there's going to be grass growing up around the tires,
Oh, no.
and that's more the concern. So I would just kind of like to somehow at least address that.
maybe put something about licensed vehicles too, so, so you haven't.
That's already
That's in
existing
code.
code.
That is
Okay,
in
so we
code.
don't have to worry about that,
Yeah, if
so.
it's not licensed, it.
I know you need at least 6 to 12, so. I don't
Right.
know.
And most of the cars that we detail is from dealerships. So they in and out because we got a 1-day turnaround. So we can't hold them. If we hold them more than that, we get charged. So whatever comes in from a dealership, it leaves the same day, no matter what.
Now, if we put a condition on something and, let's say, we say you can't have more than a dozen cars or 6 cars or whatever there overnight, then if for some reason his business model changes, can he come back and ask for some consideration on the
Update to
condition?
the conditional use.
Well, I'm sure he could, to ask to revise his existing conditional use permit.
Right. That's what I'm thinking, we put something in now, and I know you've got a good business model, but if your business model, for some reason, there's dealers everywhere who are coming to you, you just want to make sure that a year or 2 down the road, thinking good for you, a year or 2 down the road, it gets big enough where you do have the people like me who, I'm going to leave it that day. Just want
Right.
to make sure that you have the opportunity to come back and adjust it if your business grows.
The only clients I have that do that is O'Fallon Fire Department. They come out and they do leave their cars because they can't come back and get them the same day. And when they do that, we do detail them, and because they can't come back and get them, we take them back to them. And that's the service that we offer too. We do pickups and drop-offs. So people that can't come to us, we come to them, we pick them up, and we drop them back off.
Does anybody have a number that you think is a dozen tops? But then, you know, here we're kind of restricting his business, but should we even, it sounds like to me he's not really going to be, he's going to make sure we're not going to be storing anything. So should we put a number in, or should we not? I mean, should we let the city kind of see how, and him see how everything goes? And
Well, I would say we should put a number on it, but since we're just discussing site plan, we should probably vote on the site plan and then establish
Okay.
the number on the next agenda item for the conditional use permit.
Okay, I was getting a little ahead of myself.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm fine with it, good discussion.
Before we even vote.
there's no rules.
Okay.
All right, so entertain a motion for, oh, go
I
ahead,
move
Mr.
we
Deach.
accept the site plan 108 PDF.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Deach, second by Mr. Costello, to approve the Showtime Detail Site Plan 108. Any questions or comments at this time? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes?
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
And Mr. Cullen?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0 with 2 absence. Next order of business, Showtime Detail Conditional Use Permit 49. Now we'll open it up for a number discussion.
The only comment I would make on the vehicle parking, if we know already from Mr. McNary that the interior of the building is going to allow them to house 7 vehicles, my personal belief is if they're inside, I don't have a concern about limitation on what's inside. And we know that there's parking, 5 specifically marked parking spaces right now outside. My suggestion, unless Mr. McNary feels like it would not serve his purposes, and as long as Mrs. Knoll feels comfortable with it, would be to limit to no more than 5 vehicles parked on the premises overnight. I don't know if everybody else feels good with that.
That's
but-
what,
No,
I'm
that's-
okay with that.
Yeah, that's what's already designated, that's fine. And then do we have to put in the conditional use, or is that just inherent by the process to say, if there needs to be an expansion of that future state, another conditional use permit would need to be, it would need to be updated? I just want to make sure that that's in there if it needs to be.
Well, I think that by definition, the conditional use permit, the conditions are spelled out specifically. And so if there was a desire to deviate from that, the obligation is incumbent upon Mr. McNary or whoever's operating the business at that point to come forward.
Okay.
Otherwise, they'd be in violation, and then Mr. Hanf and his department would have to rectify the situation.
It would probably be a hearing for another conditional use permit would probably be
Right, I
what
just
you would
wanted
have to
I just wanted to make
do.
sure we didn't have to say that in the conditional use permit to make a time limitation or something to that effect. If it's inherent, then it's not something that
I think conditional uses run with, as long as that use is there, the condition is on. So,
and it sounds like Mr. McNary's all fine with this because he doesn't see a problem with that anyway, so,
No.
with his business model.
okay.
Well,
Are there any other conditions that anyone would put on there?
I can't
Anyone
think
else
of
see
anything that's,
No?
yeah, if no one else has anything to add to that, then I would make a motion that we recommend approval of the conditional use permit 49 for 801 Lewis Avenue, subject to condition that no more than 5 vehicles be parked outside the building after business hours.
Second?
We have a motion by Mr. Costello, second by Mrs. Scott, to approve the Showtime Detail Conditional Use Permit, -49, with the condition of no more than 5 vehicles outside the building after business hours at any time. Any questions or comments at this time? Roll call vote?
Mr. Schwab,
Yes.
Mr. Durbin,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Mr. Deitch,
Yes.
Mr. Cullum,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Barton.
Yes. Motion passes 8-0 with 2 absent. Thank you, Mr. McNary and Mrs. Knoll, for your comments tonight. Mr. McNary, thank you for coming in. At this time, we'll close the meeting and turn the floor over to Mr. Hamp for a second.
At the January 5th, 2017 Plan zoning meeting, there was a request for an update on the status of the changing of the existing setback requirements. At the planning meeting on Friday, January 27th, the Board of Aldermen discussed the concern over the current setbacks on the older lots in town. They viewed aerials of the street and current layouts of houses. After discussion, they determined that they did not desire to change any of the current setback requirements and feel that there is adequate ability to build houses under the current setbacks as evidenced by the addition of several new houses meeting the current requirements. So at this time, the board does not recommend changing the code. The other thing, I believe Emo's is scheduled to open Monday, so that's pretty exciting.
This coming Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And then the new place downtown is moving right along, I hear.
They just submitted some plans for the interior finish.
I think they'll be first Friday in April, I think that's what they're planned for.
That I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And before I forget, would you remind all the P&Z members that the work session on March 23rd at 6 o'clock here with the Board of Aldermen? Make sure you put that in your agenda and try to make it possible. Any
Who
other
gets to set it?
What's that?
First come, first serve in the chairs?
I'm sure you'll fight them. We'll let them have the. Anybody else have anything for the good of the group? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second by first, motion by Mr. Deitch, second by Mrs. Scott to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you and have a good night.